This is how not to be an annoying videographer and to make oodles and oodles of money.
Dear wedding photographers, what are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I am doing a react video to a wedding photographer's perspective on wedding videography. I don't usually do react videos. I don't really do this style of videos, but I felt like it was important to start an open dialogue surrounding this conversation and just kind of have some constructive back and forth to try to change the perception and the way we view each other as working professionals. And I think we've made leaps and strides over the last 10 years, of course, but there is still this stigma, there is still this jaded feeling towards video versus photo, photo versus video, and I just found this video to be a very biased perspective. Now, of course, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I'm entitled to my own opinion. You're entitled to yours. So we're just gonna open the floor here, analyze this video. I'm gonna share my thoughts. And look, I'm sure he meant well, and I'm sure that in his own way, he thought that this video was gonna be helpful to videographers. And there are some nuggets in there, I will say, that can be beneficial for young videographers jumping into the wedding industry. However, I think there are a lot of takes that are a bit unfortunate. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in to a wedding videographer's perspective of a photographer's perspective of videography.
This is how not to be an annoying videographer and to make oodles and oodles of money. I'm Luke Cleland, and I have been a wedding photographer for over a decade as my full-time job. And I have worked with many videographers.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit.
There are some videographers that I have loved and some videographers that...
Ditto, right? I feel like there's this negative experience on both sides of the aisle. We've all worked with some really bad photographers. There's bad sports all over the place, okay?
I'm not hating on you guys. I'm not.
Sure.
This is honestly me trying to help you, and this is how you can make so much money. I will personally hire you for so many weddings. I will.
You guys heard it.
Do these things. I'm telling you.
He will personally hire you, okay? Personally. So make sure that you're following his protocol so that you can get hired and make oodles and oodles of money.
The first thing is to know your priority. Now, this does not mean that a videographer is not as important as a photographer. They're very, very important things, and they both do very different things for couples on a wedding day. But I'm often one of the first hires for a couple. And that's because they're not hiring me just to take photos, but they're hiring me to document everything in their wedding day in a certain style, in a certain vibe, with a certain experience. Experience is a huge part of my business as a wedding photographer, is that I'm not only just taking photos, I help facilitate with the day, even with planners. I am a big part of facilitating the wedding day in such a way where it goes really well. And the reality is videographer is just not used in that way. They're often one of the later things to book. I get couples asking me a couple months before a wedding day, asking like, oh, I think we might want video. Do you know any videographers that you can recommend? And I have a very hard time recommending videographers. And that's because of these 7 things. It's because they don't know their priority, and they try to take over the shoot in a way that they're just not there for. In different types of shoots, like if you're doing like a music video or...
Let me just pause for a second, because let's go back to this word experience, which I think just summarizes this entire video. Obviously, he's stating that, his couples are hiring him for his experience, okay? Well, couples should also hire video for their experience. And yes, sadly, oftentimes, couples hire videographers that are more inexperienced because guess what? It's more affordable. And I understand that mentality. When you're planning a wedding, it gets expensive very fast. Videography, yes, sadly, is one of the last things to be checked off the box. And then people end up going with a cheaper option. And that's where you have these poor experiences across the board. Videographers who don't know the process and the proper flow of how to navigate a wedding day. They don't know really the essence of how to create in a way that doesn't create friction, that doesn't make it feel like a production. And that comes with experience. So I feel like a lot of what he's stating is just based around videographers with poor experience or lack thereof. And then the fact that it's just know your priority, know your place. Don't stage anything. Don't direct anything. Basically, just shut up, stay behind me the whole day. Don't get in my way, and everything will be fine. That's the gist of what I'm getting from this.
Video for someone, those change the priorities. And actually, outside weddings, it's typically the photographer that's kind of the behind the scenes. They're maybe getting some shots on the set of like a movie, for example, right? The cinematographer is the primary role there. But for weddings, my experience has been that a photographer is the primary and the videographer is secondary. And I know there's a lot of videographers that even say that, but in their actual practice, they don't believe that. And so it's frustrating and it's annoying.
Like, I get the stance that, yes, generally because photography is picked first, it's one of the first things that couples do hire. I mean, I've been hired first before a photographer sometimes. So it just depends on the couple's values, right? What do they value more? Sometimes couples are going to value photography more. Some couples are going to value video more. But either way, the mindset going into the wedding day shouldn't be, oh, I am the only thing that matters. My photos trump your creative liberty on this wedding day. So basically, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to direct. I'm going to lead the day. And I want you to just kind of be my shadow, okay? Don't offer any kind of creativity or, I don't really care about collaborating with you. I just want you to sit back, shut up, and let me lead the day without any hindrances on your behalf.
Like if you're on a work site, right? And someone is taking over your job and doing it or impeding or telling you how to do your job, it creates.
So basically, photographers do this at every single wedding. We have to deal with this at every single wedding. And so it's a little unfair, in my opinion, to suggest that we can't offer any kind of creativity on the day, especially if your style is a complete 180, 360 from what our style is. And half the time, that's generally the case. You know how many times I've worked with light and airy photographers or very editorial photographers or posy photographers, and like my style is super candid, very documentary, and I need motion. I need to create this authenticity, this genuine product, and I can't do that when everyone looks like a mannequin. And there's no motion. A lot of photographers have a lot of ego. A lot of videographers have a lot of ego. There's bad eggs on both sides of the aisle. But if we really want to be better videographers, if we want the industry to be better, it starts with our mindset and how we treat other working professionals. And to do what this guy is suggesting, it's not the way that you become better. It's not the way that you're going to get more bookings. Being silenced, I feel like, is such a huge swing and a miss, such a bad, poor take, in my opinion.
It doesn't go as smoothly as it could be. And I think there's so much lost opportunity when videographers and photographers kind of fight with each other over what they should be doing. I want someone to be working on a wedding day with me, to shoot video and not to be styling, not to be impacting the experience, because that's what I do. That's what I offer. And that's what a couple books me for really early on.
So then this guy just needs to make sure that if a couple hires a videographer, that he's reaching out to that videographer to talk through the process, to just get on the same page with them, say, hey, listen, this is how I go about capturing the wedding day. What does your process look like? Maybe we can collaborate together on this day so that we can create this really beautiful experience for our couples and for everyone involved. Instead, it's just, he gets very frustrated. He gets very, irritated when a videographer tries to do something for his own product. And look, I understand that mindset of, oh, the videographers are just taking so much away from the day. It's ruining the experience for the couple. It's ruining my end product. And I get that. I truly understand that, because we as videographers deal with that all the freaking time. There's been so many products of mine, so many films of mine that I just feel didn't really land because I just let the photographer direct. I just let their creativity lead the day. instead of leaning on my own creativity inside of me and what's going to really make my product stand out. And because of that, my film suffered for it. So to suggest that we should always lean on your creativity is completely asinine, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense.
Number 2 is think about the couple's experience. You have in your mind these ideas of these shots that you want. You're like, this shot's going to be so cool. Oh, and you kind of zone in on these particular shots that you want. Maybe something happens in a day and you're like, I really want that photo. Let's do that again. Oh, can you do that again? And can you do that again? The problem with that is that it affects the couple's experience. And oh my goodness, I will tell you, there's been so many times, too many times, where the videographer gets a little zoned in on this particular shot that is honestly not that important. And I'm reading the couple's facial expressions where maybe they ask them to do something for a third time, and they're kind of taking up time on their wedding day to get these shots that don't seem that they're that important. The amount of times that I've seen a rolled eye from a client, or just like stress coming upon them because, the time's up and we need to head back in, but the videographer says like, oh, no, let me do this. I understand what you guys are trying to do and trying to get your shots. And I understand it's a very difficult thing. It's honestly a very difficult job you guys have to do because you have these high expectations, but you don't have that much ability to kind of like take over in a sense.
Because of you. Because you won't allow it, clearly. Yeah, look, I get it. Couples experience is obviously number one priority, for me. And I feel like a lot of videographers should focus on the couple's experience as their main priority. And yes, there are going to be instances, and I don't know what the specifics are of this in this specific unique situation that he's talking about, where the videographer was doing all these crazy shots that he didn't feel was important. It could have been a very important shot for the sake of the story, but the photographer just didn't understand why the videographer might need that shot. So there's a lot of different specifics that it's hard to really gauge within that with this stance specifically, because listen, I know that, like he said, our jobs are very complex. There's a lot of different things that we need on the day, and what might not seem like a very important thing to you makes the world of difference to our end product. So again, it's a very biased point of view. The wedding day, yes, is about the couple. So we shouldn't be letting our ego take over. We shouldn't be trying to get all of these different shots that truly don't cater to the story that we want to tell. But again, it just boils down to experience. So if you're being intentional too, I think intentionality is another big word here that we should focus on as wedding videographers. We need to be more intentional with the shots that we capture on the wedding day. We need to make sure that we are prioritizing our couple's experience and their day over everything else, and trying to be timeliness and efficient with how we are capturing that. And if the photographer is dictating the creativity and we are just kind of at the mercy of their style choices, ultimately we're just, we're kind of SOL if we follow this guy's procedures and protocols and do what he wants us to do, and it's going to affect our end product. And so I just don't agree with this.
I understand. I'm not a videographer. However,
he's not a videographer. Okay, case closed. We can go ahead and just sign off now.
Done several wedding videos in my time. I'm not completely ignorant to what you need in order to create.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
But why are there so many humans and so many cameras? It gets crazy sometimes. Like, I don't know if like videographers feel like the more that they get paid, the more people there has to be there, or the more cameras they have to set up.
Sometimes. I remember when I first started, I thought that. I remember when I first made my first $5,000, actually, I was like, oh gosh, I got to have 3 videographers here. Got to make sure we cover all those angles. So yes, there is some truth to that.
But there's going back to experience is key for me.
Key for me.
I find it's videographers with
key for this video.
They have 3 people there. Even 2 people there often feels like a total, like too many. If you can do more.
What? 2 videographers is way too many. We just need 1 videographer. You know what? We need half a person there. Bring a little videographer, okay? Because we can't have a full person there because it's just too much. Too much. You just said you're not a videographer. You just said you're not ignorant to the fact of what videographers need. And then you go on to state Why do you need multiple cameras? Okay, well, if you're not ignorant to the fact of what we need, you should understand why we need multiple cameras. You should understand why we need those things. We need multiple angles because we are creating an experience within our products. We are creating a movie. And the way that you build an effective and immersive scene is through multiple angles, through coverage. And the reason we need multiple angles on a wedding day is because of photographers who are oblivious to our cameras or who just don't care about walking in our frames. So we have to make sure that we have safety angles in order to cut to so that we still provide a beautiful viewing experience for our couple without a photographer blocking their vows. Okay, I've had this happen several times. I'll even put an example on the screen for you to see. And this is why we have such a negative perception of photographers. This is why it exists. This is why the friction exists. It's because of ego, because of photographers who feel they are entitled to the creative liberty, to all of the things that they are the only important person in this room. And that is so far from the truth.
Or with less, I'm telling you, you are going to book so many more weddings. If you can shoot a wedding by yourself and have minimal equipment and not have people and cameras everywhere kind of impacting the wedding day, you will create a better experience for your couples and the photographers, and you will make the money.
Okay, I'm a solo filmmaker. I've worked with 2 videographers. I've worked with 3 videographers before. And I will say the wedding that I worked when I had 3 people, it was because the groom actually wanted multiple filmmakers there. That was their priority, okay? They wanted more video than they did photo. And the photographer, guess what? Hated it. She had such an ego, such an attitude on the day, trying to direct me, trying to direct my team. And I'm sorry, but I knew my priority. Did the photographer know their priority? So, I mean, what are we doing here? Okay, why are we making this video? Do you think you were achieving something with this video? Do you think that you were actually educating videographers, or are you just trying to showcase your bias and your arrogance towards how wedding videographers should behave on the wedding day? There's a lot of contradictions with what you're saying here. But back to the less is more stance here. I agree to a certain extent that yes, less is more. But that doesn't mean that you should not bring an assistant, not bring multiple cameras, not bring things that are going to help your end product just for the sake of making the photographer feel better. Okay, you're not there to serve the photographer. You are there to serve the couple. The couple hired you for your signature product. And you need to make that product however you make that product. What goes into creating your wedding film? And yes, that is multiple cameras. Sometimes that is assistance, especially if the photographer has 2, 3 other people. So yes, less is more, but only if you know what you're doing. Only if you have the experience to navigate multiple angles, multiple cameras by yourself.
Number 4 is don't direct.
Don't direct. Be silent. Be quiet. Stand behind me. That's how we're going to navigate this wedding day.
Don't do it. Your best bet, in my opinion, of a wedding day is to be a side camera to the photographer.
Your best bet is to be my shadow. Okay? Doesn't matter if your style is not like mine. Doesn't matter if you need certain shots. Don't talk to the couple. Okay? Don't even speak to me on this wedding day. Do you hear me? Don't even open your stupid little mouth. Okay? You just stand behind me and you shut up and you capture the wedding day. That's your role. Know your place, know your priority.
Of course, if you have a couple shots that you want to do during the day and you say, do you mind if I hop in and just get this one thing or ask them to do something? Like, go for it. But the whole experience of a wedding day is going to go so much better for you if you can figure out a way how to shoot weddings without directing the couple. Because the reality is, when as a photographer, I'm directing the couple, right? And say we have 15 minutes to do couple photos. If I do all the directing and take a bunch of shots, and then the videographer steps in and does a bunch of directing and does all the shots, it doubles everything for the couple, and it also cuts the photo time in half. Which
is why that you should focus on collaborating with other creative teams. It's why you should always focus on fostering a collaborative spirit. Okay, yes, you want to be efficient on the wedding day for the sake of the couple. You don't want to take up too much time. I get that that's frustrating. So therefore, you should let the videographer offer some input. You should work together. You should look at them and say, hey, is there anything that you need here? What can I do to help make this an efficient process for both of us? Do you want more movement? Do you need, what is it that you need to make this part of the day go by in a way that we get both of what we need and we can move forward and get to the cocktail, get to the next part of the day as fast and efficiently as possible?
If there is a way, as videographers out there, to kind of bank on not directing the couple at all, and figure out a way to shoot beside the photographer, shoot from a different angle, think about videography in a different way where you're not being this primary director, you will make everybody's experience so much.
Maybe we'll just make your life a lot better, right? Maybe that's just really the essence of that, And I get it. But that goes back to fostering a collaborative spirit and not fostering a dictatorship over this whole process. It just doesn't really make sense to me, man.
Because there is a sense of momentum that's lost when me as the photographer.
And there's a sense of morale that's lost once you realize that your voice is being silenced on this wedding day, that your end product doesn't matter as much as my end product. And that's that. So, yeah.
Director of the day. When I'm like directing them and getting a couple into kind of like a sweet spot of where they're feeling comfortable, I'm directing them, but we're also keeping it very natural and relaxed. And then one of the most frustrating things for me is when they're feeling relaxed and they're having a fun time, and then I have a videographer step in and say, hey, I need to get something. And I'm like, sure, yeah. I give videographer really.
Does anybody see like the hypocrisy? Like, am I the only one that's seeing the contradictions here?
Make sure that they can get what they need.
Yeah, I want to make sure that videographers get what they need. Actually, you know what? Don't direct it all, okay? Actually know your priority here, okay? Why do you need multiple angles? Why do you need this shot? Don't focus too much on this shot. Oh, but absolutely, you need a shot? Yeah, go ahead. I feel like I'm on the verge of a stroke.
But when they jump in and then they change the vibe, where they ask a couple to do something over and over again, or they ask them to do something cheesy, it kills the vibe.
I get that.
Really
I totally get
takes
that.
the energy of the couple from like going up, 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 and then it just like plummets. And then it really disrupts like the whole shooting period. Does that mean you never need to direct the couple? No, of course. If there's a couple things that you just really think that you should have, do them, but keep them as minimal as possible.
Again, this just boils down to experience. He's had a really bad experience with inexperienced videographers, and that's where he's basing this entire thing on. So for anybody listening to this, don't listen to this. Yes, he makes some sound arguments, right? But he's also contradicting them with his own hubris. And I just don't really think that this is a constructive video for videographers to become better videographers and make oodles and oodles of money like this photographer suggests. I think this entire industry needs a full-blown transformation within their mindset on how to navigate and approach a wedding day with other wedding creatives. I'm not even going to listen to the rest of it. 5 through 7 go on to just talk about some things that I actually agree with. So if you want to watch the rest of this video, go to this guy's channel, watch it. Don't attack him in the comments. I mean, obviously voice your opinions about it, because I think opinions are great, and having a constructive conversation about this stance towards wedding videographers is important to change the landscape of how we view each other as working professionals. I don't think we should view each other as lesser thans. I don't think we should see photographers as this lead creative or our boss on the wedding day. That's a weird take. I think we should see each other as equals, and we should offer to work together for the benefit of the couple, because isn't that what our main role and responsibility is on the wedding day? To serve the couple and make them feel like just the best they've ever felt in their entire life, create an amazing experience and end product for them. not to let our ego supersede our own experiences and creative liberty. That's just my take. I just wanted to talk about this because it's been weighing on me. It's honestly been irritating me, obviously, as you can tell. With this video, I got a little frustrated, and I don't get frustrated, honestly. I don't really do these react videos or get a little abrasive with my thoughts and opinions. But, you know, honestly, when you've been on the internet for as long as I've been on the internet, my patience is just wearing thin, and I just want this industry to be better. I just want people's mindsets towards other creatives and people to be, you know, a lot more nurturing and inviting, and not to detract from someone else's ability or make them feel inadequate in some way because they feel that their products are just better than yours. So yeah, thanks for watching. I don't know if you found this helpful or valuable, probably frustrating and annoying. Let's start a dialogue in the comments below. What's been some of your most frustrating experiences with another photographer, videographer, wedding professional in general? Either way, I'd love to hear from you guys. So until next time, keep creating and telling beautiful stories.